Ajay Shrivastava as well is joining in from Dimensions Consulting. Ajay, good, bad, average, how would you react to Budget 2020?
I just say one thing. The Indian investor has been thrown under the bus. Very clearly, this is a budget which has catered very well to a foreign investor. They're given all the concessions, including to the sovereign fund. As an Indian investor, you really feel absolutely miserable because for many counts. And I think one count which your colleague just mentioned is the DDT issue, that suddenly not only the high rate, let's assume that, take out this ultra high, all of us 42% tax bracket, even the very normal people who have, basic income as dividends, they will now start coming under different slabs. Some may even jump the slab and may pay a tax of 30% just because of dividend. They were not filing their returns or very simplified return. Now they have to file a proper income tax return. So, instead of simplifying the life of hundreds and thousands of people, pensioners, old people, etc., who survives on dividend, they've got Nestle's of the world, Hindustan Liver for years and years only for dividends at this point of time. Suddenly that's gone out of the window. Suddenly all the purchases for the investors based upon dividend yield goes out of the window because that 42% tax, it doesn't just make sense at all, because you rather pay capital gains tax. So, you change the market dynamics altogether. That's one. Number two, what have you done? You've taken the millennials out of the real estate and insurance bracket completely, because now there's an option for them not to pick up insurance, not to buy a house, not to take a housing loan, nothing, and pay lower tax and spend maybe on a mobile phone, most of which will go for an import at the end of the day. So you started with the objective of inculcating saving. We don't have a safety net in this country, trying to give insurance, NPS schemes, giving benefit on real estate side for them to buy houses, which gets the construction sector going. What have you done in the end? You told the guy, listen, don't do anything. You pay lower tax, go spend it on the mobile phone. Now, if that's what is come down to, I think then we got a problem. And the market is correctly reflecting that you've suddenly changed the dynamics of insurance business, real estate, housing finance, everything got affected in one shot. As they say, there's an old saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think the good intentions were lower tax, but I don't think people thought of the collateral damage.
Okay, so you're very categorical in your reaction. Ajay, we want to get in more reactions, but we've also got Ashish Kumar Chauhan now joining in. And an adverse reaction the market has taken. You just heard out the other panelists speaking about how the dynamics of insurance, housing, etc. has been altered quite significantly, and that, the markets are displeased. Is this reaction justified to the budget, according to you, Ashish?
I think overall, yesterday the world markets had fallen substantially. US closed 2% pretty much, Dow closed 2% down. And so today, when no other markets are working, in a way you take a clue from where things stopped yesterday in rest of the markets. And that's where market was already apprehensive since morning. And of course, they had a pet sort of grievance, which is in a way come out saying that LTCG exemption was supposed to come in, but that has not come in, and so some amount of disappointment has sort of crept in. But I think people will take it in their stride because the budget has something for everyone. If you take farmers, there is something. If you take Dalits, there is something. If you take street vendors, there is something. Even middle class has got a huge amount of money in hand for consumption. So for me, in a way, this is a Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas kind of a budget with a lot of consumption sort of being coming into the markets. And we will see over next 6 months that a lot of people with new consumption will come into the market. Somebody mentioned before me about people doing more consumption and less savings, but sometimes many countries also want more consumption. Effectively, they've also given a lot of soaps to FPIs. Even the corporates have been asking for removal of dividend distribution tax. That has been done. For the BSE itself, there are many positives in terms of the GIFT City and LIC disinvestment and so on and so forth. In GIFT City, they have ensured that it gets impetus by having 1% tax differential in the withholding tax for the bonds that are getting listed. So I'm sure more companies will come to list on GIFT City exchange of a BSE called India International Exchange. Rupee dollar trades have been announced on GIFT City. Even international bullion exchange has been announced, which BSE has been asking for last 3 years. I think overall, for BSE as a corporate, it has been a great budget. But even for economy, I think there is something for everyone in this budget. Of course, everything we asked for may not have come in, but large portion of what was asked for has been covered by every segment of the industry, including real estate, power sector, MSMEs, startups, ESOPs. They've covered pretty much every base that was asking for some relief, and that has been given.
The real estate index is now down 7% as we speak. It's the top sectoral drag, Ashish. What exactly, because people are talking about a bit of a miss coming about with real estate and infrastructure, that there wasn't enough, bolder reforms were anticipated on this front, and that index is down nearly 7%.
Yeah, and for me, I think we take up our own views and take very, very far. Sometimes the governments may not have that ability to give those many reliefs, but clearly the real estate sector has been identified as one, even housing sector she mentioned a few times, and so it has been identified as a key sector. They've given a lot of reliefs, including in the income tax for that 1.5 lakhs extra in terms of the interest and so on and so forth. So even for infrastructure, FPIs, investing in infrastructure bonds and all, may not have to pay taxes, and so I think overall, whatever was possible within the constraints they were facing in terms of the expenditure as compared to the raising of funds, they have, I think, tried to satisfy everyone's demands to some extent.
Speaking of the divestment target and, of course, the big announcement on LIC, everyone is very is anticipating already the kind of appetite there may be for that big bang listing, and the targets that have been set as well. What are you making of it?
No, I think, we are very hopeful that we should be able to reach those targets, because the LIC is pretty much the largest financial institution in India after SBI in terms of the money they manage and the number of people they touch. So overall, if that comes into the markets, you will see a significant increase in the overall market capitalization of the country. You'll also probably, of course, as soon as it becomes eligible for the incorporation in the indexes and so on and so forth, because that is so large, and of course it will also help government meet its targets and so on and so forth. But this was long coming. This was expected even last year, but now that they have kind of bitten the bullet, I think it's going to go forward, and it's a welcome move from their side that they are showing a tremendous seriousness in disinvestment in every aspect of the PSUs.
Ashish, for taking time out and joining in with your assessment of the budget. We also have Sandeep Sabharwal with us in our studios. Sandeep, she used the word tax 132 times, the word infrastructure just 26 times, and the word budget was used 30 times. Do you think that the market reaction is just saying it all?
Not saying it all. So I think it was the worst budget I think I have seen ever, because of the fact that you see all the announcements wherever relief etc. is being given. It's all sort of too much of jugglery. They say that exemption, you can pay low taxes, but you remove exemptions, and then you give out a figure that government will lose this much. Actually, government doesn't lose that much, because as it is, the people who are saving in PPA for housing loan interest, etc., they were doing that. So the actual loss is lesser. Similarly, on the dividend distribution, I think it's been well discussed now that right now, the earlier regime was that whatever dividend you get, you don't pay tax on that, neither the company pays. And then they introduced dividend distribution tax, and then they said up to 10 lakh dividend, you don't pay tax. I think that was the thing. And now they say that it just gets added to your income. So effectively, anyone who is holding a decent equity portfolio, their taxation effectively goes up. So where do the people save? They don't save anywhere. So I think that's the issue, because the problem of the budget is it doesn't show vision. So it's not a visionary budget. It doesn't show an understanding of how the economy works, and that's the problem. Now, that doesn't mean it's doomsday. So there's no doomsday coming because eventually economic cycles play
The
out.
markets are behaving like it is right now. I mean, do you think it's just knee-jerk?
No, market behavior was predictable. So my view was that
You've actually been saying it. He's actually been calling this sell-off for a while.
yeah, so markets find reasons to sell. So the coronavirus. So when markets have to fall under their own weight. So when the markets were rising, no one was asking why it's rising. Because when markets rise, everyone is happy. So there was nothing really happening in the economy. Economy was at decadal low growth. Companies were saying there's no growth, we see no visibility. Still markets were moving up and people found reasons for that. So when they fall, they find reasons. So markets fall under their own weight. It's perfectly fine. I think eventually over the next over the next 2 weeks, markets will find a bottom. And economy is already bottom. There'll be a revival happening with or without government support. So the liquidity is ample, rural demand is recovering. So we'll find opportunities at that time. So right now we need to let it settle. We don't globally also we don't know what's going to happen. So I think somewhere around between 11,000 to 11,500 somewhere markets will settle. I'm not sure where, but that will be the time we should be looking to buy.
Ajay, well, let me get you in as well because I saw you shaking your head furiously when Ashish Kumar Chauhan was declaring it a positive budget, and you've also been hearing Sandeep's comments. Let me get another comment in from you as well.
I was hearing of some other countries' budget comments at the end of the day. Because typically we can't believe that 99% of the investor community is a fool which got everything for everybody and sold out. So I guess maybe some people are maybe smarter than us. So that's okay with us. But I think, see, the point, of course, we are back, as rightly Sandeep is talking about, we are back on a last sell-off yesterday in the US market. But by and large, we were kind of positive that given the context of the coronavirus issues, etc., which have been there for the last 10 days at least, when the budget and the sensitivity with which the economy has to be moved around, and you saw what happened last time, the knee-jerk reaction and the failure of the corporate tax rate benefit, the government will be far more sensitive and participative in the decision-making process. And I think a lot of people could have told them exactly this, that if you follow this path, this is inevitably going to be the consequences. And number two, I think what he raised a very valid point is you got to be honest about it. When you say I'm going to increase rural income by 2 times. Now, if you increase rural income by 2 times by 2022, you're talking of an average rate of inflation agriculture products of 40%. Now, is that what is factored into the budget or the monetary policy, that there will be 40% rise in factor prices in agriculture products? Because that's the only way to increase income. How do you otherwise income? You can't give a grant, that's not in your budget. So, the precepts of the budget sit around with the factors which either are untenable or you don't understand as to how they have to be achieved, if they have to be achieved. That's one. Number two is from an ordinary investor standpoint. You need to make it happier for the guy because he has been with this capital market. Let's be honest, since the last tax cut, the Indian mutual funds have put 45,000 crore in the market. The FIs have only put 1,600 or 1,800 crore net in the equity market. So instead of rewarding the Indian shareholders for keeping this capital market alive, you are penalizing him at every point in context of the foreign investor. Now that's not a fair deal which is going to happen in the system. So, so someone needs to go back to the grassroots of the economy, as Sandeep rightly said, and say this is what really moves. I'm not saying government should look at only the market. Stock market, only maybe 5% of India or maybe less is invested. No, it's not. But it's a barometer of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong on a longer tenor. And that's where the context comes, that you be honest, what your constraints are. Don't say we're going to increase income by 2 times. Just say what can be realistically done. And we are all grown-up people at the end of the day. Although I said in the program in the morning that grown-up people were expecting a fairy with a magic wand to come and wave all the troubles away. It doesn't happen in real life. So I think it's also about communication, and you feeling despondent that as an Indian investor, what wrong did you do at the end of the day by just having a brown skin?
Oh, okay, that's strong commentary coming in, and in fact it seems to be echoed across the panel today. I want to take that point forward on inflation as well, because Sunil, there was a segment that was still hoping that monetary policy would have some room to play, even though, sure, they're also now starting to get a bit squeezed in terms of how much more they can cut, but there was still hope that we'd continue to see that. Ajay is absolutely right, because if we do see consumption spiraling and that impact on inflation, are we just going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place?
No, you see, I still want to see. I'm a kind of a semi-bull stuck between two bears on the screen right now.
Okay.
And so let me put some reality checks into this. So first of all, it's because you had expectation that you're disappointed. You take a normal customer, right? He was paying a particular tax. He can continue to avail all the exemptions and pay the tax. No, she's giving you an additional benefit where you give it up. So don't give it up. You're not worse off. So why all this pessimism? Don't want this income tax? See, first of all, why I'm saying this is an income tax, personal income tax cut is not justified given our fiscal situation.
Okay.
So he gave it to you, but said on the other hand, don't take exemptions. So if you don't want, you want to continue your LIC policy and your other ATC benefits, you continue to pay the same tax as before. So why are you worse off? That's, I'm just saying, point number one, right? You because you gave it in one hand and took it away, you're wrestling with that emotion, I'm just saying, right? And second is, suppose this 1,45,000 crore corporate tax giveaway was announced in the budget today. Think about it, right? Because of the 1,45,000, they had prepared us for a fiscal deficit slippage. Suppose that was not done then and you had put it in the budget today that you're doing 1,40,000 and this fiscal deficit is slipping, you would have had a massive negative effect. Third, he said what brown skin versus white skin, right?
Right.
I'll come back to the answer later.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a controversial one, yeah.